First thing I asked you when we started this deposition, if you're an honest person. I think you're sitting here telling me that you're not. Is what you did honest? Was what you did honest? Or was it deceptive?
It depends on your definition.
That's concerning, because do you not know what honesty and dishonesty is?
I do.
Do I need to get a Webster's dictionary? Or do you want to take a stab at it?
Oh, are you asking me? No.
I'm not asking her.
Oh, I didn't know if you were just asking a rhetorical question.
Do you? No, I'm really asking you that question because you don't know what dishonesty is. I want you to tell me whether you think that was dishonest.
Yeah, I could be dishonest.
It could be.
Yeah.
Why is it not explicitly dishonest?
Because I didn't tell a lie. I just didn't tell the truth.
Happy Friday, gentlemen. We just got done with our Rising Man call, and we have a lengthy question that was written into me about divorce and custody, and something which is more and more common, happens all the time. And if you don't know this, I have plenty of experience with this. So first off, this was messaged to me on Instagram. I will keep the guy who wrote it to me anonymous, and thanks for the message. We went back and forth, but I'm going to encourage you, do not do this. If you are in a divorce and a custody battle and you're messaging me at the last minute before your trial or preparing for your trial and thinking that a message on Instagram is going to work for you, or email or whatever, look, sign up for my courses. I have made years and years of products coaching men through this. Some of them are free, the links are down below. But if you were to pay a monthly fee, which right now it's $55 or $60 a month for the Rising Man, you would get 3 calls a week. We could go over this case. You also get divorce and custody, a 4-part video series breaking down everything you would need to know about finding a lawyer. Do you know if you need a lawyer? How do you deal with false abuse claims? What are your options if you don't have a lawyer or can't afford it, or you run out of money, or all these different things? How is it that I won my case? How is it that I got absolved and forgiven for my abuse charges? How is it that guys who had their kids kidnapped in another country won their cases? They were on courses like that, working directly with me. If you're in this case and you don't want to spend $100 to save yourself thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on my products that I've made that are proven to work, well, you end up in bad situations. Okay, let's get into this question. So it says, hey Steve, I've been watching your videos for a few months. I'm currently going through a lengthy custody battle, which I was about to get 50-50 custody of my daughter. And then on Christmas, her mom called DCFS and claimed I sexually abused my daughter. Took her to the ER 2 days after to get her examined, and then another 2 days later, took her to a therapist and got my daughter to say I did it after denying it multiple times. She was able to get a restraining order on me with this. The cops threw out the case, and DCFS closed it as it was unfounded. But I'm going to trial Tuesday to try and get the restraining order lifted. If I lose, my lawyer tells me I will never get 50-50 and will be lucky if I get supervised visitations. I was curious if you have any advice or if anything in your programs might benefit this case. I just want to be a good dad. Okay, so look, man, one of the reasons why you should not message me on Instagram or anything or emails, because I'm dyslexic, I cannot read. It's really ironic because I produce anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 published words a week, and I do not reread any of it. I have editors that I have to hire to go over that and all that sort of stuff. So I actually did not fully read your message well. That's one of the reasons why I, really cannot be a lawyer or shouldn't be a lawyer or anything like that. And I want to preface this all that I have a lot of experience with this. I've been a men's coach and all that sort of stuff. I've carried men through different trials, through different custody things, all sorts of crazy stuff. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm not familiar with the specifics of your case. I'm not familiar with your state or your county. If I get any advice wrong to you and you or your child suffers for it, that is a terrible thing. That is terrible. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a part of that. I work very hard to never do that, but I'm going to tell you that you and your child have to deal with that. So number one, when it comes to all court cases, especially with child custody, what is this case about? This case is about lifting a restraining order on you. It is not about her making false claims. It is not about you getting a DWI 2 years ago. It is not about any of all this other stuff. It's not even about your character. These are all secondary things. What this is about is how do we get this lifted off you? How do we get this restraining order taken away? And so in that, we have to then determine how restraining orders are placed on you. Now, the reason why I want to go into this is because when it comes to divorce and custody, everything comes into it. The kitchen sink comes into it. They go, oh my God, she was lying. My brother, my sister, my friends, all these people think I'm a good person. That's great, but if you do not focus on that pinpoint thing, and if you cannot get it as black and white as possible, that there is no reason for this restraining order to be placed on me, then all of that other evidence doesn't matter. It just annoys the courts and annoys the system. So here's an example of this. From 2005 to 2012, I had false accusations put on me a lot. One of those CPS got involved and they dropped the case, much like it happened in your case. But then in 2012, even after this whole pattern of false abuse claims, false sexual abuse claims, you know, my ex saying that I was a rapist, telling everybody that I was a rapist, even making signs and posting them around the city saying I was a rapist. In 2012, that didn't matter in court whatsoever. What mattered was, did I abuse my kids or not? What happened in there was very stupid on my part, and I regret it because it caused much more pain to them than to me. They didn't get to see me for 5 years. They grew up thinking that their dad was this monster, was this horrible thing. I didn't get forgiven of it until 8 years later. So for me, having the title of being a child abuser, for people calling me a monster, for the mother of those kids, you know, megaphoning to the world that I was this horrible, evil person, and now there was a charge that proved it, that didn't matter. What really mattered, and actually she would agree with this, and we talk about it a lot now, and part of the reason why I became absolved of it is because of her. It affected the kids majorly. Huge, massive, massive, massive. And it will most likely affect them for the rest of their lives, and it is part of my job and her job and everybody else's job. I wish the CPS worker's job. It is a part of our job to make sure that they have everything they need to grow up as healthy for the stupidity that we had. Part of my stupidity in that was not handling this case right. I should have spent my whole time, one, trying to disprove the abuse charges, and two, prove that there was this pattern of accusations happening over and over again. We were really lazy with it. In fact, at the same time of that case, she was in another custody case with her other baby daddy, who she's actually now married to. It's a long story. And he ended up winning it, but he won it 2 or 3 weeks later after the judge in my case forced us to take a plea or go to trial. Had we had all the evidence in that case, it would have been a lot easier to prove our case. So to you, this might just sound like a horrible thing, but it's a really easy equation. If I would have not gossiped, if I would have not gathered evidence which was pointless, if I would have taken this more seriously, if I would have known that all I needed to do was just focus on that I did not abuse them in that moment. It wasn't that I was an abusive dad. It wasn't that she thought I was a horrible person. It wouldn't be that I am trying to convince all of our mutual friends that she's lying. Those things did not matter. Those things were a huge smokescreen and a waste of time. Now, for her to waste time in those things, in some ways it may have benefited her. That does not matter in a court of law. I should have gone for exactly what it was. Now, fast forward to 2019, if you don't know the story, and I haven't talked about it, it's been almost 3 years now, but I gave my ex 2 years to be able to build up her career. But basically, my ex, who I got together with during that case. So when I was being accused of abusing my kids in 2012, I met my ex. We fell in love. It was an amazing relationship. We started another family. In that time, we had 2 more kids when I couldn't see my other kids. Well, when we broke up in 2019, she actually said to me, stupidly, she threatened me. She said, if you try and fight me on any of this, if you don't just let me do what I want in this case, meaning I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna take whatever I want. I'm gonna take whatever property I want. I'm gonna have my way with custody. And if you do, I'm gonna use your old case against you and ruin your life. And if you think that I'm bluffing, I'm not. Try me. So at that point, I started recording everything and we started a crazy little case that just lasted for about 2 months. In that, I made no mistakes, or maybe I made some, but I really did not make many. This was the root of many of the products that you see down below and that I highly advise you to look at and seek out and whatever. And for my man who asked me this question, your mistake was you should have signed up for my courses and communities immediately. It would have been the best $55 a month, or at the time, maybe when this all started, it was $30 a month. I don't know. You would be in good hands.
I think you're not taking into consideration the well-being of my children, and that's being vindictive.
No, I don't think you're taking into consideration the well-being of your children by using drugs around them, by using drugs while you're pregnant with them, by lying under oath today all day long. I don't think you're taking into consideration the well-being of your children, because based on your lies, you could lose your children just for the simple fact that you've been lying all day. Pass the witness.
So in 2019, there was a whole bunch going on. And one of the things that I was really angry about was there was assault stuff that, I could have pressed charges on. There was all these ways where she had lied. There was all this terrible stuff, right? And she was essentially trying to blackmail me. But what this really was about was child custody. And how do you win child custody in the state of Texas? Well, it's not about who's good or bad. It's about who's the better parent. Anyway, I'm gonna cut to the chase here and not go into it. We'll save it for another video. But basically, we did depositions. Maybe that could have been something that you did. It does cost quite a bit of money. It depends on where you're at, but $5,000 to $7,000. But $5,000 to $7,000 saved me everything. We did depositions. By the end of the depositions, I could have pressed protective orders against her. We had proven that she was lying about everything. She admitted to abusing the kids. She admitted to using drugs around the kids. She defended using drugs while pregnant. She defended using drugs while driving. She also implicated everybody at her new job, her new career as a real estate agent. There were all sorts of side charges and illegal actions that she admitted to and invited us to depose her other real estate agents that were actually involved in them. Literally every question my attorney asked her, he knew the answer to and how to prove it. She lied a lot, and she lied about many of them. So if we would have taken any step forward at any point after that deposition, one, we could have pressed protective orders against her. I could have taken custody of my kids. We could have gone to a hearing, then a trial where I most likely would have won full custody of my kids. We also then would bring up all the other different crimes that were related to it. Some of those crimes were misdemeanors, some were felonies. Some of those crimes would make it impossible for her to, well, not impossible, but it would make it very hard to rent an apartment, rent a house, get a lease with anybody, let alone be a real estate agent or have a real estate license. That's a really good position to be in after a deposition. That's worth $5,000 or $7,000. So here's the thing with this case, as much as I can assess from what you're saying, she's still trying to prove that there's abuse. So on her end, she's actually trying to say that you're abusing her or the child and that the judge should then enforce that. Well, here's some good news to you. The judge actually isn't trying to enforce that. He's trying to see whether or not a restraining order needs to be upheld or not. The reason why he would uphold a restraining order, I assume, and I don't fully know this and you need to talk to your lawyer or maybe a number of lawyers about this, is because there could still be danger. If there's a possibility of danger, then a judge could be more likely to uphold that restraining order. But if this is fake, if this is wasting the court's time, if that can be proven, then he will more likely let go of the restraining order. If he does think there's abuse, he may revisit the case, he may start another case, and he could make a decision on it there, but that decision isn't to try you or convict you of child abuse. That would be another whole case. It is to uphold a restraining order and then revisit the case. Now, one of the things that I think would be a good angle for your attorney to do, but again, man, I know so little about this case and we just went back and forth so little, is that if you can prove that she is lying about anything involving the case, meaning like she lied about the therapist that got hired 2 days late, there was some sort of lie with medical evidence or withholding of medical evidence. Hopefully you did subpoena the medical records of your daughter's abuse claims or whatever was going on. I'm not sure if you did this or were able to do this in time, but hire another therapist to work with your daughter and see what she or he thought. But these would be ways to prove or attempt to prove that no abuse happened. If you can prove that no abuse happened and then you can go on to show and prove that she is wasting the court's time, it will really piss off the court. If you then to go on to prove that there's all these other lies, like maybe she manufactured the therapist, maybe she cherry picked a therapist. This is really actually very common with a lot of lawyers. They cherry pick different therapists or social workers or so on that are going to be leaning on a certain side, or they know that they're going to get subpoenaed and they'll get paid $5,000 for the court appearance so that they're going to go with whatever attorney, all this sort of stuff. It's illegal. It's highly illegal, but it happens all the time. Again, I don't know about your state or your county or how prevalent it is, but it's very, very common. Now, see, the crazy thing about this is, as you said, if you don't win, your attorney says it will be impossible to get 50-50. There's a couple things I have to say to that. One, your attorney is very right. If you get supervised visitation because this gets upheld, that sucks. That's terrible. Look, for me, I didn't get to see my older kids for 5 years. For 5 years, that's terrible, man. And then, you know, the mom, if she's all in a crazy state, feeds their minds with all sorts of crap, but their self-image, their trust, their whole ecosystem that they need to make healthy decisions later in life gets destroyed. It's one of the greater forms of child abuse that just gets overlooked or brushed off and going, oh, well, women are angry, hell hath no fury. Or what my friend said about my ex, oh, well, she's Latina, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, no, man, she's abusing my freaking kids. I should not be hated on for taking her to court and forcing her to uphold the law when she is breaking the law. There's one other thought that I have, and I'll get to this last one because the last one's kind of the most important. But had you prepared properly for this, there's no doubt you could have won it. There's so many things when a woman is doing all this false claim stuff where she makes just terrible, erratic decisions. So let me tell you what I mean by that is when a woman is making false accusations and doing something so hysterical that she's going to throw her baby daddy under the bus and basically ruin his life just so she can get her way, cover up a lie, all this sort of stupid stuff. She makes very predictable, calculating mistakes. I mean, that just happens over and over again. It gets seen over and over again. And if an attorney is used to it, he can find all those traps. Now, you're going to trial on Tuesday. You do not have enough time. If you had 3 months, if you had 2 weeks to actually look through this, especially with my group, you'd kill it. If you did Divorce and Custody, the Survival Guide for Men, which is in the Rising Man Challenge, or you could buy it on its own for whatever price, you would have had tools to go through and look through all of that about how she would have made those mistakes. When a woman makes those mistakes, you can either prove your case or get so many other cases that are going to tie up her case that is going to make her attorney go like, oh my God, do I really want this? I'm going to be in trial. I don't want to be in trial. This is going to be horrible. You're going to be able to kill it. You know, this is how most of my guys win it. When these women do this, they're making stuff up. They're hysterical. They tell all their friends, they do stupid actions, they do things for validation. A lot of times they talk to people about bribing stuff. They then act out erratically. There's more drinking, drug use, and so on. Or they become really good, goody two-shoes. Anyway, there's just so many holes that she's going to dig for herself, or probably dug for herself in the short amount of time where she planned this elaborate plan that is built like a house of cards. The problem is with so many men is they go into this thinking lazily about it. And I get it, you probably didn't go into lazily about it, but you could have been much more astute. Like I said, in 2005 through 2012, I was stupid. And I paid for that, and my kids paid for it most. In 2019, when it happened, no man, I was not stupid. We handled it good. I knew what the law was. I knew how to navigate it. I knew what the different things meant, meaning mediation or depositions or hearings or trials. I knew what all those things did. I knew that if a judge ruled upon something, it would be a big deal. I knew it would be really hard to reverse. I knew that if we got under oath evidence, video, that it would protect me and my relationship with my kids and other false claims for a long, long time. That being said, let's go to this last thing here, and I hope this video was helpful to you, but this is what I really want to say. The most important thing about being a dad, and on the last sentence of that, you said, I just want to be a good dad. You'll get to be a good dad. There may be a time where you don't get to see your kids as much as you'd like, or your daughter as much as you'd like. You might have to do supervised visitations. It might be horrible. That is brutal. That is going to affect your daughter's life and her ability to make decisions about herself, her self-image, her relationships for the rest of her life. Already those things have happened, so you have to be a good father. Part of being a good father means that if you do get supervised visitations, or you do get some sort of restraining order upheld, or if you do have their mom still angry at you, making claims over and over again, this also adds to the stress. Our biggest goal as fathers is to have a good space where we can communicate with our exes. Now I get it, they may not deserve that. If my ex comes to me who, man, tried to use my old fake child abuse case that she knew that she went to court with me on, she tried to use that against me to cover up her BS, how can I respect her? Well, the fact of the matter is that for my kids, I have to make it as cool as possible with her. The more animosity we have, the more that's going to get brought into a relationship that's going to affect my kids for a long time. The less animosity that we have, and over the years, then the more it will just naturally go to 50-50. Even if our custody schedule is, you know, a weekend dad or whatever it is, or supervised visitations, it will start to move to where we get to see our kids more. What is more important in this is not how much you get to see your kids, that's part of it, but it's how much you can heal your daughter's pain in this. There's going to be pain that comes out of it. You have to be strong. You have to be a leader. You have to learn to take the high road. You have to learn what masculinity is really about. You have to realize that she's going to look to you in times when her heart is broken, when nothing works for her, where she can't figure out why she's having trouble with relationships that may root back to you and your ex's relationship. She's going to have all of those things, and that is your job to be strong, wise, and live a good life around. So this starts with, yes, you winning your case, and that starts with every dad winning their case, but this needs to carry over to you building your life to becoming a better man. Now, if you don't do that through my courses, that's totally cool. Like, you may not resonate with it. There's so many different ways to improve yourself. But what I can tell you about working in this industry for 16 years, there's a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of fake crap to be the alpha, to be the divine masculine, to not be the beta, to not be the cuck. All this sort of crap is BS, man. All that matters is how you build yourself, how you build your family, how you do what is right for that. Because there is going to come a time where you being a good father is going to be challenged in every single way. And it is so hard. Man, I got 4 kids. I got 4 boys. I got 4 boys that I got to be strong for as long as I can. That means every aspect of my life needs to do that. When I see men just thinking about, oh man, I want to win this, or I want to be strong, or I want to rebuild myself, or my ex stomped on my balls and my heart is broken. Dude, I get that, man. I get that. I've lived through that many, many times. I've carried thousands of guys through that. But let's walk through that so we can rebuild our lives and become better men. That being said, I hope this video was helpful. I don't know a lot of information, but literally, man, if you would have come to us 4 weeks ago, or probably would have been best 3 months ago, or right when this started, you would not be having the same issues with your case. I do think it depends on the judge you get and how prepared you are with your attorney. I don't know what that is, but it is a case that is definitely winnable. Definitely. I mean, she's lying. If somebody's lying, they do stupid stuff to cover up those lies. It's real easy to prove that. The weekend before, it's not enough time to do it, so I apologize for that. But I thank you for watching. I thank you for reaching out to me. Like I said, if that is what you see from my videos, I literally, if I open up my email now, I just get a ton of emails about it. This one I just happened to read because I was at the store and answered them back. Don't do that. Get the free PDFs, do the work in them. If you need help, pay the 50, 60, 70 bucks a month or whatever it is. You can cancel anytime. Talk to me on the calls. We just had a call today. I'm gonna have 6 hours of private calls today with people that are actively working on this. I work at it 7 days a week. I live in 2 different countries. I have a lot to juggle. I have 4 kids. Do what those guys did. Do what the guys did that won their cases. So for you who I'm making this video for, again, thanks. Sorry if it comes off harsh, but that's the harsh reality of it. If you want to improve your life beyond this, sign up for the stuff below. Anyway, guys, there's going to be more videos on this. There's a major edit that I'm doing of a lot of the stuff, like how I just won my case and how I've helped all these other guys win their cases. And I don't know, man. It's hot. It's like 108 degrees and I'm outside, and like all this sweat is accumulated. Anyway, whatever. Have a good one. I'll talk to you guys soon.